Hello, my wonderful and beautiful friends. Welcome back to our people/the entitled ones, where everyone truly believes they can do no wrong and that they are the center of the universe. This episode is going to be hilarious, guys. We have an entitled Karen who thinks she's above the law and a one-up story about a family who took down an evil Karen family. I hope you enjoy these stories, just don't shake your head too hard. And as always, you can send or link your posts to this email right here. Let's get started, shall we? Alright. Story 1, Drama. My friend's sister demands to move in. First up, we have a story from our/entitled people, where outrageous demands can turn friendships into battlefields. This time, OP shares a housing drama that made me want to scream. Lisa, who do you think you are? OP is an ordinary person who just bought a small house with their best friend, Jay. OP writes, Jay and I have been friends since college. We saved for 3 years to buy this place, a cozy 3-bedroom house with a backyard, the kind of place we dreamed of having weekend BBQs in. But the drama begins when Jay's older sister, Lisa, storms in like a tornado. OP explains, Lisa is 5 years older than Jay and has never been stable, no job, no savings, always couch surfing at different people's houses every few months. OP and Jay were in the middle of fixing up the house, painting walls, installing shelves, and cleaning, when Lisa suddenly knocked on the door and dropped a bombshell. I want to live here with you guys. OP writes, we hadn't even invited her in yet, and she was already talking like it was her right. This isn't just a housing story, it's entitlement at its peak. Are you ready? Buckle up, because Lisa isn't stopping at just words. The drama kicked off the moment Lisa stepped into their new home. OP recounts, Lisa walked in, suitcase in hand, looking around like she was inspecting a hotel. Then she said, nice place. I'll take the master bedroom. OP and Jay were dumbfounded. The master bedroom had the biggest window overlooking the backyard, and OP had rightfully claimed it since they contributed more to the house. OP asked, Lisa, what do you mean? This is our house. But Lisa casually responded, I'm the older sister. I need a place to stay. You guys have to help me. Jay, being the nice guy, tried to reason with her. Lisa, we just bought this house. We weren't planning to have anyone else live here. But Lisa waved him off and snapped, you guys are so selfish. I don't have anywhere to go. I wanted to scream, Lisa, if you don't have a place, that's your problem. Who gave you the right to demand someone else's home? Things escalated quickly when Lisa went from talking to taking action. OP describes, the next day, I came home from work and found Lisa had already moved into the master bedroom. Her suitcase was open, clothes were scattered all over the floor, and she even put her dirty shoes on my bed. OP was furious and immediately called Jay. Your sister did what? Jay rushed over and confronted Lisa. Lisa, can you get out of the room? This isn't your house. But Lisa just sat down on the bed, crossed her arms, and said, I'm not going anywhere. I'm staying here. You have to take care of me. OP writes, I stood there, staring at my brand new bed now covered in shoe prints, and all I wanted to do was throw her suitcase into the yard. Jay, who always tried to keep the peace, was also getting annoyed. Lisa, this is too much. The drama reached its peak a few days later when Lisa outright refused to leave. OP recalls, she turned the house into a disaster zone, ate all the food in the fridge, blasted the TV all night, and left dirty dishes everywhere. That was the breaking point. OP and Jay had an emergency meeting and made a decision, we have to kick her out. They knocked on the master bedroom door, and OP said, Lisa, you have 24 hours to pack up and leave, or we're calling the police. Lisa screamed, how dare you? I'll sue you. I'll tell Mom. But OP wasn't backing down. Jay locked the front door, and OP actually called the cops. When the police arrived, they asked, who owns the house? OP showed the paperwork, and Lisa was forced to leave. She grabbed her suitcase, crying, I can't believe how cruel you guys are. OP writes, watching her walk out with her luggage was both satisfying and hilarious. And I was just sitting here thinking, Lisa, cruel? You barged into someone else's house. Can you handle this level of entitlement? OP adds, after that, Jay didn't talk to Lisa for a month, and I just wanted to forget the image of my bed covered in shoe prints. Reddit exploded with comments. Team OP, Lisa was completely entitled. Moving into someone else's house and getting kicked out was exactly what she deserved. Team Lisa, come on, she was struggling. OP and Jay could have let her stay for a few weeks. Trolls, next time, install cameras so we can watch Lisa move in for fun. I was cracking up reading these, but I'm on OP's side. Lisa, you're the older sister. If you can't stand on your own 2 feet, don't blame others. Now, here's a theory for you all to consider. Do you think Lisa wasn't just looking for a temporary place to stay, but was actually trying to take over the house? Maybe she saw her younger brother buying a nice place and got jealous, so she tried to insert herself into it. Or maybe she's been relying on Jay her whole life and just assumed he'd always take care of her. Either way, OP and Jay did the right thing. Their house is not a charity. But here's a question, if Lisa came back and apologized, do you think they'd give her another chance? A final update from OP. After getting kicked out, Lisa texted Jay, "You hurt me, but I still want to live there." Jay never replied, and OP said, "If she comes back, I'm locking the door again." And honestly? Same. Lisa, give it up already. What do you think? Did OP and Jay go too far, or was this the only way? Have you ever dealt with someone this entitled? So there you have it, an entitlement drama that had me both laughing and cheering. A sister tries to force her way into her brother's house, only to get thrown out in the end. Who saw that coming? Are you on Team OP or Team Lisa? Have any crazy house drama stories of your own? Drop a comment, I'm dying to hear them. Story 2, Satisfaction, I kicked her out. Next, we head over to our /entitled people, a place where kindness is sometimes repaid with shameless ingratitude. This time, OP shares a roommate drama that had me screaming, B, what kind of life are you living? OP is just a regular person, living in a small but cozy apartment, the kind with a comfy sofa, a compact kitchen, and a little balcony with a few potted plants. OP writes, I needed to save money, so I agreed to let a friend, B, move in, thinking that living with a friend would be easy. At first, B seemed fine. OP recalls, she arrived with a big smile, saying, thank you so much. I won't be any trouble. I believed her right away and even let her have the spare bedroom while I took the sofa. But oh no, my friends, that was just the beginning of an entitled nightmare that lasted for months, and the ending? Oh, it's absolutely satisfying. OP turned their kindness into a brutal life lesson for B. Are you ready? Buckle up, because this story will have you both furious and cheering. The drama unfolds. It only took a few days for B's true colors to show. OP explains, I set clear rules, we split the rent, share the cleaning, and no bringing strangers over without asking. B nodded enthusiastically, but within a week, things fell apart. OP writes, I came home from work and found B sprawled on the sofa, devouring the fried chicken I had left in the fridge, the meal I had bought for myself after a grueling 10-hour shift. OP asked, B, where's my chicken? B shrugged. I was hungry. It looked good, so I ate it. Just buy more. OP says, I stood there, staring at the empty box, speechless. I, on the other hand, wanted to scream, B, if you're hungry, buy your own food. Who said you could just take OP's? But that wasn't the worst of it. B never paid rent on time. OP continues, the first month, she said, I haven't gotten paid yet, can you cover for me? I agreed, thinking friends help each other out. But the next month? Another excuse, oops, I forgot to transfer it. Then later, you've lived here longer, just pay for me. OP writes, I was covering the entire rent while B was out buying new clothes and dining at restaurants like she had no worries. I was fuming, B, do you think OP is your personal ATM? No one's going to support you for free. Chaos in the apartment. Things escalated when B turned the apartment into her personal party zone. OP writes, one Friday night, I got home at 11 p.m. and found the living room packed with strangers, at least 6 people, drinking beer, blasting music, and spilling sauce all over the carpet. OP demanded, "B, who are these people?" B just grinned. "My friends. They came over to hang out. You don't mind, right?" OP snapped, "Actually, I do. I want to sleep." But B brushed it off, "You're being so uptight. The apartment is more fun thanks to me." OP writes, "Fun?" The carpet smelled terrible, beer was all over the floor, and even the neighbors were knocking to complain. I wanted to jump in and yell, "B, your fun is OP's nightmare." The final straw. After 2 months of suffering, OP had had enough. I came home to find B throwing another party, this time even bigger, with about 10 people, food everywhere, and footprints all over the sofa. OP finally put their foot down, "Clean up. I can't take this anymore." B scoffed. "Stop overreacting. You're lucky to have me here." That was it. OP didn't argue anymore, they took action. OP writes, "That night, I called a locksmith and changed all the locks. Then, I packed B's belongings, her suitcases, clothes, even her dirty shoes, and placed them in the hallway with a note, 'Goodbye. Find your own place.' The next morning, B returned and pounded on the door. 'Let me in. Where's my stuff?' OP, standing behind the locked door, calmly replied, 'Outside.' 'Bye.' B shrieked, 'I'll sue you,' but in the end, she had no choice but to grab her things and leave. OP writes, "Watching her walk away made life feel more beautiful than ever." And I applauded, "OP, you handled that perfectly. Kicking B out was the only right move." Aftermath and Reddit's reaction. OP writes, "After that, B sent me a long, angry text, calling me heartless. I blocked her immediately." The Reddit comments exploded. Team OP, B was completely entitled. She didn't pay rent, wrecked the place, and got exactly what she deserved. Team B, yes, somehow, there was one come on, OP should have given her another chance, she's a friend. Some people joked, next time, OP should have a written contract, if you trash my apartment, you're out. I laughed so hard reading the comments but fully support OP, B, if you don't appreciate kindness, don't expect sympathy when you get kicked out. A theory to consider. Here's a thought, was B truly ungrateful or was she just lazy and taking advantage? Maybe she saw OP as an easy target, thinking, if I can stay here for free, why not? Or perhaps she had always relied on others to take care of her. Either way, OP did the right thing, kindness has its limits, and B crossed every single one. But I do wonder, if B sincerely apologized, would OP have forgiven her? Oh, and one final update from OP. After getting kicked out, B moved in with another friend. A month later, that friend texted me, "How did you even tolerate B?" OP writes, "I just laughed. Knew she wouldn't change. And I thought, B, you've officially run out of people willing to live with you." So, what do you think? Did OP go too far, or did B deserve it? Have you ever had to kick someone out of your home? This was one of the most satisfying entitled person dramas I've read, someone who took advantage of kindness, only to get booted out for good. So, whose side are you on, OP or B? Do you have any roommate horror stories? Drop them in the comments, I'm dying to know. Story 3, Comedy, he's handsome, and extremely dumb. Next, we head over to our /entitled people, a place where good looks sometimes can't save an empty head. This time, OP shares a cafe drama that had me wanting to scream, "Chad, do you think being handsome is enough?" OP is a barista at a cozy little cafe, the kind with the rich aroma of freshly roasted coffee, warm wooden tables, and friendly regulars. OP writes, "I've been working here for 2 years. The job is easygoing, and most customers are pleasant, until I met this guy. The main character of this drama is Chad, a guy OP describes as tall, blonde, Hollywood actor-level handsome, but completely brainless." OP continues. "Chad strutted into the cafe like a movie star, wearing a tight white button-down and sunglasses, even though it was raining. At first, OP thought Chad was just another customer, order coffee, pay, and leave, but no. He was here to turn OP's workday into a comedy show that I can only describe as the peak of ridiculousness. Are you ready? Brace yourself, because Chad is about to make you laugh and shake your head in disbelief. The drama began the moment Chad stepped up to the counter. OP writes. I asked, what would you like? Chad flashed a smile and pointed at himself, I'll have a free latte. I froze for a second, free? How? Chad winked, because I'm handsome. Other places always give me free stuff. OP continues. I stood there, staring at him, not knowing whether to laugh or cry. Still maintaining professionalism, OP explained. Sorry, sir, but we don't have a free coffee policy. A latte is $4. But Chad refused to back down. He folded his arms, nodding confidently. You don't get it? I'm handsome. I add value to this cafe just by sitting here. At this point, I just wanted to scream, Chad, being handsome doesn't pay for coffee. Things escalated when Chad started making a scene. OP recounts. I refused again, and Chad snapped, get me the manager. I don't talk to low-level employees. So, I called my manager, let's call her S, to handle it. S arrived and asked, what's going on? Chad repeated, I'm handsome, I deserve a free latte. What kind of business are you running? S simply smiled and replied, you are handsome, I won't deny that. But coffee is still $4. Pay up or leave. Chad's face turned red as he yelled across the cafe, you'll regret this. I'm going to expose this place online. OP writes. There were a few regulars sitting nearby. They turned to watch, some even covering their mouths to hide their laughter. At this point, I was thinking, Chad, you're turning yourself into a public joke. But the drama wasn't over, Chad decided to go all in. OP continues. He pulled out his phone and started filming right at the counter, look at this. This cafe mistreats customers. They refuse to give me a free latte even though I'm this handsome. Then he uploaded the video, unedited, with the cafe's name clearly visible. OP and S just ignored him and went back to work. But a few hours later, Chad stormed back in, fuming. Delete the comments. Your customers are trashing me. OP writes. Turns out, our regulars saw the video and flooded his post with comments like, handsome but dumb, and just pay for your coffee and stop embarrassing yourself. Chad demanded OP take down the comments, but OP remained unbothered. That's your page. What do you want me to do? At this point, I was rolling on the floor laughing, Chad, you just dug your own grave. The climax of this drama was the most satisfying ending ever. OP writes. Chad stood there, mumbling, I'm never coming back here again. And then stormed out, leaving behind his self-exposed embarrassment. S turned to OP and said, next time we meet someone like that, just let them sink on their own. And that was it, Chad never returned, probably too ashamed. And I couldn't help but feel so satisfied, Chad, good looks won't save you from your own stupidity. You did this to yourself. OP adds. After that incident, our regulars kept joking about it, calling him Mr. Free Latte. Reddit exploded with comments. Team OP supporters said, Chad was way too entitled. Just because he's good looking doesn't mean he gets free stuff. Meanwhile, the very few Chad defenders argued, come on, maybe he was just joking. OP should have just given him a latte to keep things fun. Someone even joked, next time, OP should make him a latte with just water, totally free. I read all of this and laughed so hard, but I definitely side with OP. Chad, being handsome isn't currency. Stop making ridiculous demands. Here's a theory for you to think about. Was Chad really that dumb, or was he just putting on a show for attention? Maybe he thought, if I make a scene and record it, the cafe will be too scared and just give me free stuff. But he didn't expect the regulars to clap back so fast. Or maybe, Chad actually did get freebies elsewhere before, so he assumed every cafe would bend to his looks. Either way, I think OP and S handled it brilliantly. They didn't even need to fight back. They just let Chad embarrass himself. But now I wonder, if Chad came back and sincerely apologized, would OP give him another chance? Here's an extra update from OP. A few weeks later, a regular told me, I saw Chad at another cafe trying the same stunt, and they kicked him out immediately. OP writes, I laughed, knowing he hadn't learned a thing. And I just thought, Chad, buddy, you're running out of cafes to go to. What do you think? Is Chad pathetic or just clueless? Have you ever encountered someone this entitled? So there you have it, another entitled drama that left me both laughing and shaking my head. A handsome but clueless guy, exposing himself online over a free latte. Who could have seen that coming? Are you on OP's side or Chad's? Got any cafe drama of your own? Drop a comment, I'm dying to hear it. Story 4, Satisfaction, the bully gets his karma. Next up, we dive into our /entitled people, a place where bullies sometimes think they're untouchable, until karma comes knocking. This time, OP shares a story spanning from high school to the workplace, and after reading it, all I wanted to do was scream, K, you totally deserved it. OP is an ordinary person who used to be a victim of bullying in school and now works in a mid-sized company, the kind with an open office layout, a coffee machine in the corner, and a steady work routine. OP writes, I'm not someone who likes drama, I just want a peaceful life, but somehow, my past and present collided in the most unexpected way. The main character of this drama is K, a former high school bully who, by sheer coincidence, now works at the same company as OP. OP recounts, K was my nightmare back in the day, tall, good-looking, but a total terror who bullied everyone, especially me. OP thought K would have changed after so many years, but nope, he brought his entitled attitude from school into the workplace. And this time, OP decided to no longer stay silent. This is a tale of sweet revenge, which I can only call karma strikes at the perfect time. Ready? Buckle up, because K is about to get the lesson of a lifetime. The drama starts in high school to give you a taste of just how awful K was. OP writes, back in 9th grade, K locked me inside a gym locker during lunch. I screamed and banged on the door while he stood outside laughing with his friends. OP continues, he poured water all over my textbooks, called me a coward, and no one dared to stand up to him because he was a basketball star. OP endured 3 years of this and finally escaped when he went to college. He thought, there's no way I'll ever see this guy again. But fate had other plans. 10 years later, K showed up at an interview at OP's company and got hired as a colleague. And all I could think was, OP, your nightmare is back. The real drama explodes when K starts acting up in the office. OP shares, at first, he didn't recognize me, but he was still the same old bully, mocking coworkers, stealing credit for others' work, and, worst of all, targeting me again after realizing I was his former victim. One day, K stood in front of the whole team, pointed at OP, and said, look at this guy, he used to be a wimp in school, and I bet he still is. OP recalls, the whole office laughed, and I felt humiliated, but I didn't react immediately. But what really pushed OP over the edge was when K bragged loudly, I've been dodging taxes for a whole year, and the IRS hasn't caught me. You guys should learn from me. OP writes, hearing that made my blood boil, not just because of his taunts, but because of his arrogance. And all I wanted to scream was, K, you really think you're that smart? OP decided to play the long game for the perfect revenge. OP writes, I started secretly recording every time K bragged. He had no idea I sat nearby, so he just kept talking about tax fraud and faking invoices. After a few weeks, OP struck gold, a recording where K laughed in front of the whole team, saying, I faked a $10,000 deduction, the IRS is too dumb to catch me. OP writes, I kept that file like a treasure, waiting for the right moment. And that moment came when the company scheduled performance reviews. OP anonymously sent the recording to their boss and also forwarded it to the IRS with a note, check out this guy, he's openly bragging about tax fraud. And I couldn't help but cheer, OP, you just went nuclear. The climax of this drama is beyond satisfying. OP recounts, a week later, K was called into a private meeting with our boss. He walked out looking pale as a ghost and was immediately fired for damaging the company's reputation. But it didn't stop there. The IRS launched an investigation and contacted OP for verification. OP cooperated fully while staying anonymous. OP writes, "A few days later, K called me in tears. 'What did you do to me? I lost my job, and now the IRS is fining me thousands.' And OP coldly replied, 'Who told you to commit tax fraud?' K hung up, and that was the last OP ever heard from him." OP concludes, "Watching him get what he deserved made me feel like justice had been served. And I was just sitting here, grinning. K, you bullied and scammed your way through life, now deal with the consequences." OP writes, "After this, my colleagues started treating me with newfound respect. No one dared to mess with me anymore." The Reddit comments exploded. The first camp, Team OP, said, "K absolutely got what he deserved, karma is beautiful, and OP played it flawlessly." The second camp, Team K, had a few voices saying, "Maybe OP went too far, reporting him to the IRS was overkill, just getting him fired would have been enough." Some people even joked, "Next time, OP should wiretap K and record his entire life." I was cracking up but fully on OP's side. "K, you did this to yourself, don't blame OP." Now, here's a theory for you all. Do you think K genuinely didn't realize he was in the wrong? Maybe he grew up getting away with everything and thought bullying and tax fraud were just normal? Or maybe he bragged about it to intimidate his coworkers, never expecting OP to actually fight back? Either way, I think OP handled this perfectly. This wasn't just personal revenge, it was justice for years of bullying. But I also wonder, if K had apologized from the start, would OP have given him a second chance? One last update from OP. After the firing, K sent me another message, "You ruined my life, I'll get my revenge." But OP just blocked him and said, "Not much you can do when the IRS is after you." And I couldn't stop laughing. K, exactly how do you plan to get revenge from under a pile of tax debt? So, what do you think? Was OP a hero or did he take it too far? Have you ever gotten revenge on a bully? So there you have it, an entitled people drama that left me both satisfied and impressed. A schoolyard bully who carried his entitlement into adulthood, only to face the karma he so richly deserved. Now that's a story you don't see every day. Are you Team OP or Team K? Have your own revenge stories? Drop them in the comments, I'd love to hear them. Story 5, Standing Firm, break the rules in my car? Then walk. Next, we dive into our entitled people, a place where kindness is often tested by sheer thoughtlessness. This time, OP shares a car drama that had me shouting, "T, you think my car is yours?" OP is just an ordinary person with a small, well-maintained car, not new, but clean and cherished like a prized possession. OP writes, "I'm not rich, but my car is my biggest asset. I keep it spotless, not a single scratch." The main character in this drama? T, an old friend OP happened to run into after many years. OP recounts, T was a classmate. We met again at a supermarket, and he said, "Give me a ride home, I live nearby." I agreed, thinking, it's just a small favor for an old friend. Oh no. OP's kindness quickly turned into an invitation for chaos, and the way the story ends? So satisfying, I had to applaud. This is a tale of boundaries and consequences. Are you ready? Buckle up, because T is about to get a lesson he won't forget. The drama starts the moment T steps into the car. OP recalls, "I opened the door and said, 'Hop in, but no smoking. I don't like the smell in my car.' T nodded, 'Yeah, sure.' I thought everything would be fine." 5 minutes into the drive, on the highway, T suddenly pulls out a cigarette, lights it, and fills the car with smoke. OP writes, "I turned, completely shocked. 'T, what the hell?' I said no smoking." T shrugs and laughs, "Relax, it's just a little smoke. Why are you so uptight?" OP continues, "The smell clung to my seats. I was furious, but I kept my cool. Meanwhile, I'm screaming, 'T, how is someone else's car your personal ashtray?' OP wasn't about to let this slide. OP recalls, I warned him again, put it out or get out. T ignored me and took another long puff. Dude, you're being petty. It's just a car. OP writes, I stared at him, cigarette burning, acting like he owned my car, and I just wanted to kick him out right then and there. Instead, OP remained calm, slowed down, pulled over on the side of the highway, turned on the hazard lights, and said coldly, get out. T laughed, you're joking, right? Here? On the side of the road? OP was dead serious, not joking. You break my rules, you walk. I'm sitting here thinking, OP, you're a legend. The drama escalates. T refuses to move. OP writes, he crossed his arms and said, I'm not getting out. What can you do? So OP turned off the engine, stepped out, walked to the passenger side, and opened the door. Get out. Or I call the cops. Now T was nervous but still argued, you're being cruel. I was just smoking. OP didn't flinch. My car, my rules. Get out. Finally, T grabbed his bag, stepped out, and muttered, you'll regret this. OP drove away, leaving T stranded on the roadside, miles from home. Watching him shrink in the rearview mirror, I felt lighter. And I'm here, applauding. T, you break the rules, you face the consequences. Don't blame OP. The drama wasn't over. T tried to retaliate through text. OP shares, when I got home, I received a string of angry messages, you left me on the side of the road. You're heartless. I'll tell everyone. OP simply replied, go ahead. Make sure to tell them why you got kicked out. T went silent after that, probably realizing he had no case. OP finishes, I have zero regrets. My car is like my second home. No one disrespects it. And I'm sitting here, satisfied, OP, you did the right thing. T brought this on himself. Reddit exploded with reactions. The first group, Team OP, said, T is completely entitled. It's OP's car, his rules. Kicking him out was the right move. The second group, Team T, argued, come on, OP should have let it slide just once. Leaving him on the roadside was too harsh. Some joked, next time, OP should put a sign in the car, no smoking or no riding. I was laughing so hard, but I'm firmly on OP's side. T, it's not your car, don't test boundaries. Here's a theory, what if T never thought he was in the wrong? Maybe he grew up being spoiled, thinking smoking anywhere was fine. Or maybe he was deliberately pushing OP to see if he'd back down? Either way, OP nailed it, setting clear boundaries and not letting anyone take advantage of kindness. But I wonder, if T had apologized immediately, would OP have let him back in? Oh, and one last update from OP, a few days later, T texted again, I had to walk for 2 hours to get home. You're ruthless. I didn't reply, just thought, good. Maybe now you'll learn some respect. And I'm here thinking, T, 2 hours? That's a light punishment. What do you think? Was OP too harsh, or did T deserve it? Have you ever kicked someone out of your car? So that's OP's entitled drama, a car rule breaker forced to walk home. No one saw it coming, but it was absolutely deserved. Are you Team OP or Team T? Got any wild car stories? Drop them in the comments, I'm curious. Story 6, Satire, if you're late, arrive before 10 p.m. Next, let's head over to our /entitled people, where time often means nothing to those who think they're the center of the universe. This time, OP shares a dramatic incident at a laundromat that made me want to scream, Mrs. C, if you're late, just accept it. OP works at a small laundromat, the kind with humming washing machines, the fresh scent of fabric softener, and regular customers. OP writes, I've been here for 3 years. My job is simple, receive clothes, wash them, return them, and close at 10 p.m., no earlier, no later. The star of this drama is Mrs. C, a customer OP describes as someone who looks like she's used to giving orders, wears expensive coats, but apparently can't read a clock. OP recounts, the shop has a huge sign, Business hours, 8 a.m. to 10 p.m., hanging right on the glass door, clear for everyone to see. OP initially thought Mrs. C was just another late customer, but no, she was here to turn OP's quiet night into what I can only call the pinnacle of absurdity. Are you ready? Brace yourself, because Mrs. C will have you laughing and shaking your head. The drama begins. It all started on a busy Saturday night. OP writes, I had just finished the last load of laundry, turned off a few machines, wiped down the counter, and was preparing to lock up at exactly 10 p.m. Right at 10 p.m., OP stepped outside, locked the main door, and switched off the sign when suddenly, bang, bang, bang. OP turned around and saw Mrs. C standing there, clutching a bag of dirty laundry and banging on the glass like she was about to break it. OP cracked the door open slightly and politely said, Sorry, we're closed. Please come back tomorrow. But Mrs. C snapped, Open up. I need to wash my clothes, now. OP pointed to the sign, We close at 10 p.m. It's 10:05 now. Mrs. C folded her arms, I don't care. I'm a customer, and you have to serve me. At this point, I wanted to yell, Mrs. C, customers still have to follow store hours. OP remained calm and explained once again. OP recalls, I told her, the shop is closed. I can't take any more orders. If you had come before 10 p.m., that would be different. Mrs. C shouted, I was busy all day. This is the only time I'm free. What kind of business is this? OP writes, I just stood there, looking at her through the glass, thinking, well, too bad for you, I also want to go home. But Mrs. C wasn't done yet. She banged on the door even harder, Open up right now. I'll sue you. I'll report you to management. OP, completely unfazed, replied, Management also closes at 10 p.m. Go ahead and report me. Mrs. C turned red with frustration, but OP didn't budge, just standing there watching. At this point, I was laughing, OP, you're a rock. The drama escalates. Mrs. C then decided to take things up a notch. OP recalls, she pulled out her phone, started recording, and shouted, Look at this. This laundromat refuses to serve customers. How terrible. Then she uploaded the video online, right on the spot. OP writes, I almost laughed out loud because, in the background of her video, the huge closing time, 10 p.m. sign was clearly visible. Mrs. C yelled a few more things, I'm never coming back. You're losing a customer. Before storming off, leaving her bag of dirty laundry on the sidewalk. OP writes, I picked up the bag, placed it in the corner of the store, and thought, if she comes back tomorrow, I'll return it. If not, oh well. At this point, I was grinning, Mrs. C, you just exposed yourself in your own video. The twist. The next morning, Mrs. C returned at 8 a.m., furious, Where's my laundry? OP handed her the dirty bag and calmly said, Here. Next time, come before 10 p.m. Mrs. C glared, snatched her bag, and left without saying a word. OP writes, watching her leave, I felt so relieved, no lawsuit, no complaint, she must have been embarrassed. I was thinking, Mrs. C, just accept your mistake and stop making a scene. Was this satire at its best, or what? Reddit's reaction. After the incident, OP's coworkers suggested putting up an even bigger sign, but OP figured the current one was enough. Reddit went wild in the comments. Team OP, Mrs. C is way too entitled. The shop has set hours, if you're late, that's your problem. Team Mrs. C, come on, OP could have been a little flexible. What's the harm in taking one more load? Some people joked, next time, OP should open the door and hand wash the laundry for her. I was cracking up but firmly on OP's side, Mrs. C, time is time, stop making ridiculous demands. I have a theory, maybe Mrs. C wasn't actually busy, she just liked controlling people. Maybe she thought, it's a small shop, the employees are probably scared, if I yell, I'll get my way. Or maybe she's just used to being catered to wherever she goes. Either way, OP handled it like a champ, sticking to the rules and not letting Mrs. C push them around. But here's a thought, if Mrs. C had apologized nicely, would OP have accepted her laundry? Oh, and one last update, a few days later, Mrs. C posted an online rant trashing the laundromat. But regular customers clapped back, they close at 10 p.m. If you're late, that's on you. Mrs. C deleted the post immediately. OP writes, I laughed. Knew she wouldn't win. I was thinking, Mrs. C, you exposed yourself twice. Just give up. So what do you think? Was OP right, or should they have cut Mrs. C some slack? Have you ever dealt with a customer like this? Final thoughts. And that's it, the entitled drama of the day, where a late customer threw a tantrum and ended up embarrassing herself. Truly, who could have seen that coming? Are you Team OP or Team Mrs. C? Do you have any wild customer stories? Drop them in the comments, I'm super curious.